So, the Minecraft movie. This is gonna be a doozy. So, I love Minecraft. Outside the obvious, Minecraft is my favorite game of all time, so to say that I was excited for its film adaptation for as long as it's been known the game was getting one is an understatement. Now, of course, as the trailers for this movie started coming out, the more cautious I became of this movie. I was someone who was put off by the fact that the film was gonna be live action instead of animated, and I was also put off by some of the designs in the movie, especially the mobs. Then, of course, there was the reveal of the subplot or whatever of the villager and Jennifer Coolidge having a relationship, and I was wondering how this was gonna go. The film released on April 4th, 2025, and I went to see it, having cautious expectations based on the mixed reviews I've both seen and heard of this movie, and what I think of it in the end? Well, watch this review to find out, you silly goose. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell. Totally optional, but we appreciate it if you did. Without further ado, let's get started. Spoilers, by the way. My theater experience for the Minecraft movie was very interesting, to say the least. Before we went to the theater that day, me and the people I saw it with went to a Spencer's in a mall a few towns over to get Minecraft shirts. I wore this Creeper shirt and I wore this Minecraft hat. I was a big nerd. Then we got to the theater, and after 20 minutes, there were these people that apparently had our assigned seats that we were already assigned to and were sitting at. How the movie theater I went to works is that when you buy tickets, you have to assign yourself to a seat in the theater room. Me and this other person got tickets online, and we looked at each other's phones. We had the same seats, same auditorium, same movie obviously, same time, same location. It was strange as fuck. That group dipped, and apparently, according to my friends, they never came back into the room, so that unfortunately means they were probably refunded and told to go home. God, that's terrible. I would have hated for that to be us, so I'm also kind of glad we got to our seats when we did. Additionally, there were like people stealing seats. During the movie, there were people getting kicked out of the theater for stealing seats they didn't pay for, and the theater staff had to help with getting people in their correct seats during the movie. Like, bro. Typical movie theater, I guess. However, those things go unmatched with what else happened at my theater. I went on opening night, so of course it was packed, and I kid you not, it was full of mostly teens and young adults. Not little children like you expect for the Minecraft movie. During every part that was known about the movie already or was exciting, everyone clapped and cheered and shouted. The parts that come to mind were I Am Steve, the Technoblade cameo, Flint and Steel, Chicken Jockey, which was the obvious, We Are Going to Minecraft, the shot near the end of all the characters coming towards the portal, the end of the movie, Nitwit the villager talking, and the Alex post-credit scene, which only a few people were there for because most people thought the villager talking was the only post-credit scene. However, that theater experience was genuinely so goated due to how, despite the movie's quality, people including myself were able to have fun with getting excited over what seems like very small things about the movie. Hell, even big things. Nah, we weren't throwing popcorn or bringing literal chickens into the theater, no. We were all just getting excited. I had the packed, excited theater that was mostly well behaved, thankfully. Did my theater experience heighten my enjoyment of the film? Kinda, yes. However, I still think the movie itself had a lot to offer, both positive and negative, so let's begin with that, shall we? So we'll start with the positives, as I think it's important to highlight what I liked about the film. I think what this movie's strongest aspect is the pure stupidity that comes from its comedy. This movie is genuinely so fucking dumb, but it winds up being very enjoyable due to how it's presented and executed. It all just winds up actually being funny. I laughed at a decent amount of the jokes in this movie, especially with a lot of the line deliveries. That's all thanks in part to the performances of a lot of the actors. I think the biggest part about this movie that highlights the sheer stupidity of it is the subplot with Jennifer Coolidge and Nitwit the villager going on a date. It's all ridiculous, but still funny. Nitwit talking at the very end was just unexpected, but still plays into the unserious aspect of the film very well by how nonsensical it is. That's what this movie is, nonsensical. In my opinion, I think that is what this movie should have been entirely, but we'll get into that. I also liked both Steve and Garrett in this movie especially. Also, yes, I ship them. Steve x Garrett, mwah. In all seriousness though, Jack Black does pretty damn good as Steve and even has some good moments. I also think his little songs were pretty cool and funny, especially Lava Chicken and the final song of the movie. A lot of the line deliveries are pretty damn good, especially Chicken Jockey, man. That one's amazing. For me personally though, I think Garrett was the best character to come from this movie. I really like his character a lot. I like how he's someone who hypes himself up as this strong individual, but ultimately he's a rather weak and pathetic character. I like characters like that because we get to see their ego get completely shattered by stuff happening to or around them, which is usually a funny and enjoyable thing to witness. I think the other main characters are alright too. I think that the female characters especially should have gotten more screen time and more to do, but hey. I've already said my praises about Jennifer Coolidge's character in Nitwit the Villager and how they're both funny characters. Chungus was also an enjoyable character to watch too. So overall, the characterization in this movie is both surprisingly fun and good. In terms of other positives, I think certain scenes in this film do a good job at being intense and action-biting. Specifically the village raid scene and the scene with Henry, Garrett, and Steve in the minecart. Those scenes surprisingly have greater stakes to them, which definitely enhances my enjoyment of the movie. I also think the film's climax was really good. It was really good in that it brought out the major characters in the film together for a final battle scene that is actually interesting and fun to watch unfold, even if Garrett actually being alive and coming back to the climax is a predictable twist. However, Garrett's reappearance in the film's climax is a good segue into my positive with the movie. I think this movie has some good setups and payoffs. For one, I like how Garrett's bucket things he crafted earlier in the movie come back into the final battle. Same with how Henry is being fed tater tots, and that all comes back later to an extent with Henry crafting a tater tot gun, which he actually uses throughout the film. It's little moments like this that proves that this movie did have some type of effort and thought put into it, even with the stupid and dumb nature it likes to have. Technoblade's cameo was also notably really cool and sweet. I'm glad he was honored in the film somehow, and how it was done was definitely the right way to pay respects to a legend like him in something like this. In terms of the visual side of things, I did have one issue with the film's looks, but I'll say that later. My main positive though is that the mobs and environments are surprisingly well animated. Yeah, I know they look a bit strange at times, but I think they were mostly well done. They definitely feel more alive than usual, but hey. And finally, I think the post-credits scene with Alex was cool as fuck. Those are my main positives out of the way. Even though I can say in full confidence I liked the film and I enjoyed it, I did have some notable critiques and flaws with it. To start off with some minor flaws, one thing I found somewhat strange was that the YouTuber cameos like DanTDM didn't really have a line or anything. I get that they were cameos you had to spot in the background as a fun thing, and I definitely understand they didn't want to overdo it, which I do respect this movie for. However, I think at least one line or a tiny bit of something would have definitely made the cameos more fun. Sort of like the FNAF movie with its YouTuber cameos, how they only have like a few lines, you know? As well, I didn't understand how Dennis was a stray wolf later in the film when he was in the real world for so long, and he didn't become one then. I found that kinda odd. I get they wanted to have a short, cute scene of one of the real world characters taming a wolf for the first time like in the game, but I think it would have just been easier and made more sense to keep Dennis the way he was. The one visual flaw I had was I think the green screen of the actors looked a bit obvious that they were in a green screen at times. I definitely think it should have been done more naturally and had more time in the oven. It ultimately doesn't look terrible though, at least, so there's that. The use of the word unalive may be grown a bit. However, that's an extreme nitpick and personal bias because I just don't like that word at all. As well, I already mentioned that Garrett still being alive was predictable. To fix this, I would have given more time to Henry and maybe the others being sad about him being dead so to have more of an impact. It still probably would have been predictable kinda, but the emotional weight would have been there. This all leads to my biggest and most major critique towards the film though, and that is, I think this movie fails to captivate me emotionally when it attempts to. This film tries to get you to take certain moments and things seriously, but it just doesn't have any weight behind it. Mostly because I think this film also has a huge pacing problem. The pacing in this film is very off to a point where these emotional moments are brushed aside, which kills any impact. It's all just very sudden to the point that makes the movie feel like it's stopping at holds to try and get us to care about parts that are honestly the weakest parts of the film in my opinion. The only somewhat emotional moment I thought worked was that short, cute moment with the pandas giving birth to a baby panda. That was cute because it was intended to be just a small, quick moment. I feel like this movie genuinely does have an identity problem thanks to these moments. It wants to be really dumb and funny, but it also wants to have some emotional weight to it. That is what is truly holding this movie back from being great in my eyes. There are two solutions or fixes I would have to solve this problem with the movie. Number one, if you keep the emotional moments and beats, try to have there be more time dedicated to these moments and make sure they have even more greater importance to the plot by the end. Have these moments be gradual too, so it doesn't feel like the movie is halting. If these moments are gradual, that would also fix the issue with the film's pacing, I feel like. Number 2, if you really care more for the dumb and funny moments of the film, I'd just stick with that entirely. I have not attempted to include these emotional moments at all. Have the movie just be a dumb and enjoyable riot from start to finish, like what this movie was seemingly advertised as and what people going to see this movie expected going in. Despite its positives and me enjoying the film as a whole, the one big flaw I have about this movie really hinders it a lot, I feel like. Oh well. All around, the Minecraft movie was actually a fun watch. Yes, the movie has its core issues when it comes to what it is as a movie. However, I enjoyed it for what it was for most of it, and if a movie can do that for me, I can say in full confidence that I liked the movie. Sure, the experience I had at the theater possibly elevated my enjoyment, but when talking about the movie itself, I still had a blast. 7 out of 10 for me personally. Genuinely a solid film with its own quirks, and I'm happy about that since Minecraft is one of my favorite games of all time. Hopefully if a sequel is made, hopefully it'll be something like this or even better, and Herebrine, of course.